I wanted to take the first part of this stream to talk about the build and kind of like a diary approach. So this is a Locust Mine, originally Lightning Arrow, now Burning Arrow build. Or at least just Locust Mines. I'd say Locust Mine Burning Arrow is the main build. The gimmick is the new Locust Mine skill, which throws 3 projectiles in kind of a wide spread. Detonate. They do not detonate if you're close to them, but they will detonate if you're far enough away. 30 units, the game says, which is a distance, but not as much as you'd think. So you can use any kind of forward shooting projectile skill with Locust Mine. The idea is they, instead of targeting enemies, target you. So they kind of chase you around. It's kind of neat. As it turns out, it's raining outside, so it distracted me. But anyways, as it turns out, this build's actually quite good. I tested at least start Blast Chain Mine, and it seemed doable. But Locust Mine proved more than that. The numbers have... So the thing that makes Locust Mine good is it has way lower damage reduction. Like 13% less damage, rather than like... I think Blast Chain Mine is like something like 50 or something. It's a ridiculous difference. So way less of a less damage multiplier. It shoots 3 at once, so instead of 1 mine at a time, as you can see. The downside is you get roughly a third of less projectiles, 30% less projectiles, which is a little rough, you'd think, but so like if you get 3 projectiles on average, you only shoot 2. But that's per mine, and overall, I'd say the mines make up for it more than the lack of projectiles originally. And you can still scale projectiles a little bit. I wouldn't recommend going too ham into it for reasons that I'll get into. Okay, so a huge PSA. One thing I tried to build around and test was not being able to use devastating devices, which is gain power charge when mines detonated targeting an enemy, and charge mines, which is frenzy and power charges when detonated targeting an enemy. Since Locust Mine targets you, I thought that would never target an enemy. Turns out, as long as it like hits an enemy while targeting you, that actually applies. So you will get power charges and frenzy charges with the appropriate skills tied to that. So now, if this is a bug and gets patched out, some things that you can do to bypass it. The way I was going to do it was Mana Forged Arrows with a level 1 low-level Frenzy and a low-level Ensnaring Arrow with Inspiration, so they cast a lot. And so Frenzy gives me Frenzy charges. And eventually, if I get a 5-link, a power charge on crit support, I could take out Inspiration, swap them in. And that would give me power and Frenzy charges, but not as well. Charge Mines does give you extra throwing speed, though. I don't think it's worth it as a 4-link. If the interaction didn't innately give you power and Frenzy charges. But it might be worth a 5-link, because the throwing speed out of Locust Mine is not that bad, inherently. But it gets only better with charge mines. So, other things of note, the skill is a mine. Mines are known as be jank. This also has a base radius of, or a radius of 30 that you cannot detonate mines. So you can't get close to them either. So let's talk about the playstyle next. Generally, the way I play is I throw them far away from me, either in front or behind. It doesn't matter necessarily, as long as they're in a distance. Between me, and then I just kind of run around in a way that makes enemies get hit. Now, In practice, this is not that great at the start with Burning Arrow. Burning Arrow is just one, arrow, essentially, per mine. Like, you don't get all that projectile juiciness at the start. But the nice thing is you don't have to use Burning Arrow at the start. I actually started with Ice Shot quickly into Lightning Arrow for the AoE those have. I actually jumped into Locust Mine all the way as early as level 8, which is when you can get the skill from the Cage Brute quest when you enter the lower prison. So I'd recommend starting with Ice Shot or Lightning Arrow. It doesn't matter because you're not scaling fire damage directly. You're just scaling bow and mine damage, at least with the way I'm building it. And Locust Mine is available that early, and just scale those. And then I swapped into Burning Arrow around Act 4. Two things really help it. One is the Ranger, or the Deadeye Ascendancy, which is the class I'm playing, of Ricochet. Skills chain +1 time, and chain when colliding with terrain. That's extra coverage. And the other is returning projectiles, which the projectiles come back to me. Rip Vengeant Cascade from 3.21, but returning projectiles is earlier gettable and adds a lot of coverage. It doesn't add a lot of damage on the return, but it does pick out smaller enemies, and the single target for the main volleys is fine enough. Endless Munitions is a little scary, by the way, once you get to the second lab. I took this as second lab because 2 extra prods mean they don't target you directly in the mines. You can see they kind of bounce around, but that's not really a huge issue, just because you can kind of wobble your character around to hit enemies. I didn't find it too problematic yet. And mind you, this character is only just starting maps. This is just kind of a build diary, not a full, and kind of an explanation of what I'm going for. Other things. So let's open up my theoretical skill tree. Real quick. I have POB opened over here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So, zooming in. I did plan this out all the way, but a notes, you start with Burning Arrow, you're going to carry that all the way to the end till the rest of the game. Ice Shot for clear because you're doing damage. Since you don't get mines at the start, I wouldn't recommend starting with the Store Blast or anything. Just go arrows. Mirage Archer. You could do Swift Assembly if you really want to get Storm Blast mines. Swift Assembly I thought would be okay at the start, just because you could get extra mines out, but in practice, there's better skills. Sniper's Mark is going to be part of our build. Bear Trap, because they take extra mine damage, and nice. Shrapnel Ballista, I just like the meat decoy, it's not really important. Frost Blink, that's one of the 2 movement skills I'm going to main. Steel Skin, still haven't put this on the build, but having some kind of guard skill is always great. War Banner, actually never ended up using this, but extra accuracy is the idea here. Because leveling trees, this is not the greatest setup, but the way I was planning it was get proj damage. Probably could have gone this way too to get life, but I think proj damage is fine. Primal Spirit, Heart of Oak. I want Primal Spirit because the strength requirements are a little annoying in here, so getting Primal Spirit's good for the strength and int. Heart of Oak for life, go down to finesse. And basically we're beelining towards precise technique and farsight for the accuracy and the more damage if accuracy is higher than life. So not going crit at the start, but swap to crit later on is the idea, because precise technique is just too good. So as long as you get your accuracy high enough that it's higher than your life pool, this is 40% more damage, and it is great. And that's more damage, not increased damage, so that is just a huge multiplier. Generally, you can get this with the bow accurate with Farsight nodes going to accuracy side and precision leveled up enough, and maybe Warbanner. Precise technique's easy enough to get. This is not 1-for-1 Act 1 to 10. It's just a rough estimate. And then grab some life nodes. Was the plan, and that worked. Grab charisma because you're using mines and precision, and eventually skitterbots in Act 2, and elemental damage for some damage, and the inversion mastery because inverting elemental res of tanky enemies is really good. And Locust Mine actually does enough damage for it to matter. Beeline towards accuracy. I thought that'd be a good idea, and it seemed decent enough. Though I did get... And then beeline towards Mind Drinker for more mana reservation. Get some volatile mines. Eventually get some more life nodes. I was going to take Flask Mastery, ignore that. I don't think this is actually necessary, but if you feel Flask Starved, you can take Flask Mastery for Mana Flask and Life Flask. The biggest choke point to this build so far has been Mana Sustain. I'm still using a Mana Flask. Enduring Mana Flask is perfect for this build because you just fill up a low reserve health bar. And then I could put like immunity on it because doesn't reduce the duration like putting on utility flask does. I'm probably going to do that until I get the avoid being frozen on the Brine King, which is, let me just show you. Yeah, so I have an enduring flask right here that makes me immune to freeze, and then eventually when I kill the Fragment of Winter and the channel map with Divine Vessel, I'll avoid being frozen that way. Back to POB. Okay. So, anyways, and ignore the Act 5 stuff, but our first skill is Ricochet, then Endless Munitions in Act 7 or so, or end of Act 7. And then, I guess you could go Gathering Winds first, it doesn't matter. And Gathering Winds in Merc Lab, and then in Uber Lab, when I get to it, I'm going to get Focal Point for the mark damage. Because I feel like I could do damage in this build. I could also do Wind Ward for just taking less damage. I am a little squishy. It really doesn't matter too much either way. So, more things I did. Yeah, get Blood Drinker for life. So after getting some Mind Nodes, also beeline towards Reservation Efficiency in the Influence Wheel. Again, reservation efficiency is good. Efficiency explosives, same deal. This says reduce mana reservation efficiency of skills of other mines. The Mind Masteries might not be important. They reduce damage and take enemies take increased damage, but I like them. Accuracy, I take the plus 500 accuracy, because even if you're level 100, it's still flat 300 accuracy, which is... but just keep that in mind. There might be better nodes, but any of the flat accuracy nodes is the mastery there, whichever one gives you the most. Revenge of the Hunted for life and evasion. Eventually I go spell suppression at this point. Somewhere around here is my last thing. Get some spell suppression. Evasion mastery, Revenge of the Hunted. My defenses right now are just evasion with some spell suppression. Evasion and armor is just a little too costly because I can't really fit determination into this build. Might think of going Evasion Energy Shield with Ghost Dance, if I can get enough flat Energy Shield pieces. That would be an idea, I'm right next to it. So, Spell Suppression with Lucky Spell Suppress until I cap it. We're getting Entrench, eventually Inveterate. So, the full build... full quote-unquote, this is around level 89 or so. Long shot, because the Locust Mines go pretty far. And that's a good damage node. Fervor, a jewel, I don't know, just a fun jewel. It's not really important yet. Fervor for Frenzy, Frenzy's nice. Also eventually getting infused to Frenetic for Frenzy, because Frenzy's nice. Eventually we do a crit swap, and then we do that. Mark Mastery, marking and just make enemies take mark damage is really nice, and then blinding them, because blind is going to be coming into effect later. Yeah, like I said, innervate, life nodes. Let's show where I deviated from this so far. So I actually made the crit swap early, ish. It doesn't matter yet, but Devastating Devices is actually a skill I would recommend taking it currently. Successive detonations, crit multiplier for each mine detonated recently. So this is really good. That's what I'm going to beeline towards. Written in Blood for the extra strength and life and stuff. So this is my current project. I don't think I'm going to get the frenzy charges too early, fervor and frenetic and infuse, but those will probably come up soon. I'm getting Sniper's Mark, by the way, from Mark on Hit. You could do it with Asenath's Mark later on, but Mark on Hit is just good enough right now. Other things I have. Clarity, I'm trying that right now because I have enough mana reservation for it, but I might just stick to Mana Flask. The goal will be to craft Elrion nodes, so I'm going to be farming Jun and getting minus mana cost, flat minus mana cost prefixes on rings, which will make Locust Mine go from like 9 to like 1 mana. You need Burning Arrow, Locust Mine to have at least 1 mana cost to proc Mana Forge arrows. Mana Forge arrows give me Ensnaring Arrow and Frenzy, and you want these, and note that these go down in cost too with Mana Forge. So you only really want 1 Elrion Jewel because they each subtract by like 6 to 8 and 9 mana. So having this go down to 1, but generally you just want to have at least 1 mana. I have Inspiration on this to lower the mana cost of Ensnaring Arrow and Frenzy. They get a little more costly otherwise. And Ensnaring Arrow makes enemies take more damage from projectiles. Frenzy gives you frenzy charges faster. I guess this is not that important. Ensnaring Arrow kind of is, but Mana Forge is just nice. Now this does make reflect maps, Fizz Reflect, a little annoying, or just any reflect map, just because these do enough damage to hurt you a little bit, like 1600 and 1600 and 1400 respectively from each. Now that's not cast a lot compared to your other skills. I haven't tested a reflect map yet, but it might be a little spicy. Worst case, you could just not use Mana Forge, but I'd recommend it because Ensnaring Arrow is nice. Either way, Sniper's Mark and Mark on Hit, and you can proc Sniper's Mark and Mark on Hit. You can't do that with regular mines, so that's what Ensnaring Arrow and Mana Forge is really just good with this. Alright, other things. So yeah, I haven't deviated too far from the tree. Intuition, Innervate for spell suppression. My spell suppression chance right now is 96. It's lucky roll. I don't know if it's fully 96 right now, or if it's just like counting the lucky chance. I'm not sure how Path of Exile itself calculates that. And yeah, I was going Precise Technique for a long while, but yeah, obviously when you start going crit, unspec out of Precise Technique, there's nothing else you really need to unspec out of, because, crit needs accuracy, and then you just put some crit nodes in. Things I'm later going to go into. We are going to go into Mark the Prey for enemies taking less damage, Mark Mastery, blinding enemies, Dazzling Strikes, which is crit chance against blinded enemies, and blind effect, which makes them hit us less. Blind Mastery of crit chance against blinded enemies, which is great. Hey, KRX Vault Pass is available. Thank you, game, for reminding me about that. We're not going to take Point Blank, because I honestly think Locust Mines go too far for that. Probably going to unspec out a long shot eventually. I'm not sure. And the final touch, let's see. So let's talk about closer to the end here. And this is kind of my aspirational stuff. Let's open up PUB. When I get enough levels, if I do this far enough, the big thing is a Thread of Hope with a large ring, which will be expensive because arrows are still popular. One with Nature is good, and take basically so many good wheels. You get +1 arrows here, +1 arrows here, and I want at least 2 of them because there's a kind of a diminishing return, because the 30% penalty on projectiles with Locust Mine. You don't want to take just one of these, and you don't want to take the wheels for them because they give attack speed, and mines don't care about attack speed at all. Split Shot I thought would be good because projectile. I'm probably not going to actually take this because I thought Fork would be good as a link. It probably isn't needed because forking with returning projectiles was the idea. Theoretically, Trick Shot would be better. Piercing Shots doesn't really help us. I'd say Split Shot could be good if I add Fork to my build. But either way, Aspect of the Eagle, we're still taking this Forces of Nature wheel. You could also take Perfectionist because movement speed and stun avoidance and stun block is nice. So at least these nodes, crit chance. I don't know if Crit King of the Hill's that valuable, but whatever. So those are some great nodes. Could also get Primeval Force. I forgot about that one. Yeah, that's nice. Let's click that. So unspec out of long shot. I think that would be smart. Just get less life nodes, which maybe not smart. Fill out the spell suppression, get more crit. We are anointing eventually Destructive Apparatus because mine throwing speed is good and mine duration is decent too because you can preload longer. Get the power charges, probably get Frenetic. I don't know why I haven't unspec'd into that. This is technically level 100 character, but this is just kind of like filler node. These are just squeezing whatever nodes I can take. Still probably going to get the bow mastery and accuracy and all of that. Depending on how much accuracy I get, I'll unspec out some accuracy wheels. Yeah, this is the build. Probably could save a node just by taking intelligence and unspecking out these 2 nodes and life and energy shield. Leaf Shade actually is something I want to spec into. Ghost Dance too, if I can get the again, because I'm going evasion, I might get some energy shield. So saving point wise, could just take the intelligence here, especially since pathing is good this league with the tattoos replacing attribute paths. And you could also get close to physique and alacrity that way. And Lethe Shade is something I want to get for defense. So that's the end. That's close to the end goal there. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, so that's the current status and goals of the character. So far, the damage is actually really good. The character is a little squishy, but evasion makes up for it decently enough. 3,500 health and white maps is enough with evasion on it. I'll eventually get to 4K, a little over 4K with some evasion. Oh yeah, I have Defiance Banner actually instead of War Banner. I thought that would be really good, and turns out it is, because taking reduced crit chance and some extra evasion is good, even if I don't get the armor. So I'd recommend it for now. So the 5 link, the 6, the multi-links that are above 5. Mana Forge is going to be a 5 link. Locust Mine is going to be the 6th link. We want a bow with triple LE or just 3 damage stats. Actually, Fizz damage is fine too, because Burning Arrow converts elemental damage to 100%, which is easy. It does more damage against ignited enemies, which is why crit's good. Until you get the crit. Until you do the crit swap, I actually took off Clarity and had Artillery Ballista linked to Combustion, and Artillery Ballista probably not going to stay in the build, it's just fine. But these will ignite the enemy more likely, along with Burning Arrows and Innate Night, and that means more damage. In fact, I still have Artillery Ballista here because, hey, more Ignite chance, and more meat shields. I had Ice Golem Buddy for a while, but Ice Golem Buddy started dying around the white map, so I just was like, you know what, Ice Golem Buddy, you did your job, time to retire. So he went to the Happy Farm, which is my gem stash tab. Yeah, that's the build. Current gear is kind of garbo. The spine bow is the best thing I have. High cold damage roll, but yeah, triple damage. Life on hits totally pointless. Stun duration not really needed. Oh yeah, you just want triple flat damage and accuracy and crit. Just same similar stuff here. Probably want an Aznath's Mark eventually for like Tornado and Hydrosphere for extra projectile fun. The only trick with Aznath's Mark is if you do take that, you do not want to take the Evasion Mastery because Aznath's Mark does not have evasion on it. So this Mastery of extra spell suppression, if equipped helmet has evasion, nope, it don't. So just note that you'll have to get more spell suppression that way. That's really the only unique I care about. Hyri's Ire would also be good here, if you can fit the resistance fix in. But anything that's not a unique is just life resist. The bow, I'm just having flat damage, crit, life resist. Amulet, of course, gives attributes, life resist. Strength belt, or heavy belt so far, Stygian Vice eventually, life resist. Yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, flasks. Quartz, Quicksilver, Jade, enduring until I get the minus mana cost. And then probably a Stibnite for the smoke cloud, just more evasion. Quartz is great, Jade is great, because those evasion's nice, phasing's kind of more important than the evasion at this point. And Quicksilver's movement speed, which I'd recommend these two first. The standard Divine Flask, reduced amount recover, instant recovery on low life, and corrupting blood immunity. This is just, staple. I'll eventually get a better quality version, of course. And the Enduring Flask is the biggest stopgap here. Enduring is the mod of choice here, and Chill and Freeze immunity is really good, because putting it on another flask will reduce the duration on utility flasks. Now that might be an upside, that might be worth it in some cases, because you can put the freeze immunity on before you click a chest and not be frozen. But if you have enough Twitch skills, you can just do the freeze and chill immunity. You're spamming the Enduring Flask enough in this build anyways. Which is why I honestly think, if you feel flask starved, you can just do the Replenishing Remedies wheel and take out, like, spell suppression or some crit or something. And flask mana, just get flask life and mana charges. Oh yeah, Pantheons. I'm trying Soul of Solaris. Eventually it's going to be Soul of Brine King. Raslotha for the life flask charges gained every 3 seconds, though most people do like have agreed on Ralakesh or Garakon. That would be hardcore stuff. Reduced effective shock is nice, because we aren't shock immune, but then again, this is a softcore character, so that's fine. I like Raslotha just because I like having life flasks around and spamming them, but that's just me. And increased life recovery from flasks is nice. Other options, I guess Grothkul might be okay, but honestly I would say Garakon or Ralakesh are the other options. Especially since Cannot Be Blinded and Maim is nice. And, well, I don't think you would need to upgrade the Pantheon for here, because 5 Corrupting Blood debuffs is still deadly. Brine King is going to be our major Pantheon of choice once I get the Freeze Immune, and Reduced Chill effect for Pirate Treasure is also nice. If I'm Freeze Immune some other way, it's Solaris, definitely. Less area damage, boss fights go better with Fizz damage. And that's it. That's the build so far. It's been decent. I've been streaming, so if you want to watch, there's a build showcase in that sense. It's not going to be the best build. It's probably Bone Shatter or DD or anything. It's not the most, like, it's a guaranteed build. It is mines. Mines are known to be jank. For my playstyle, I don't...
I'm not up to that
I don't put mines on left click, though you could do that. I usually reserve that for a guard skill when I put one on. I have it on the F key, or I just bind it to a button that I can press nearby. I'd recommend, if you're playing the way I do, have mines either on left click or have it on a button you can press while pressing other buttons. F key is good for me, but you know, you just gotta feel it out. I think that's about it. So yeah, that's it. That's it. Yep. Hope Locust Mines goes well if you decide to try it.